Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's marketing mix. I've got the absolutely brilliant Luan Wise with me today, and I just have to say, I've just noticed that Luan's hair matches the purple on our labels. She's properly on brand today.
Couldn't plan it, could you?
Thank you for that.
Right.
So we're going to be talking about the updates that have happened this year on social media, and there have been a gajillion of them. And I don't know about you, but I find it hard to keep up to date with them all. So we're going to go through what Luan's going to tell her picks of what is great in terms of updates this year. We're going to stick to the 5 major networks. I know there's lots of others. I know there's TikTok and Snapchat and loads of other things. If we have time and you've got questions, we'll cover those. But we'll stick to the 5 major networks and we'll figure out what's new today or up to date on social media. So the first thing I'm going to do is ask Luan to introduce herself.
Thanks, Manal. Yeah, my name is Luan Wise. I'm a marketer. I've been doing marketing for 20 years now, working in advertising agencies as an account manager. I've worked client side as a marketing manager, and I've run my own consultancy business for 10 years now. Just celebrated my 10th business birthday, which seems forever, and then has also flown by as well. And I guess, marketing is my thing. I'm traditionally a planner, a strategist, but if I had a specialism, it's social media. It wasn't a planned specialism. These things happen, don't they? You kind of get swept away in this channel, and it's all consuming. But to the extent that how we met, I'm an accredited trainer for Facebook and Instagram. I'm also a course instructor for LinkedIn Learning. So I have courses on their platform. So if you have a premium LinkedIn account and LinkedIn Learning, you will find some courses from me on there as well.
Brilliant stuff. That's amazing. So I guess the first thing that I want to get into really is we want to talk about the updates that have happened this year. What would you say? Let's start off with Facebook. What are your top 3 sort of updates that you think people should sit up and pay attention to?
Yeah, the thing about social media is it does change. It does change daily. I checked the news just before we went live. I don't think there's been anything yet today, but that's mostly because California don't wake up until 4 o'clock our time. So we are correct at the time of doing this. The thing about the changes throughout the year is that, these platforms are continually changing. They're continually testing things. So if I was to look back at what they were testing in January and February, some of that has rolled out and is day to day, and we've probably even forgotten it happened this year. Some of it just never sees the light of day. And this is a really pertinent time for this question about, what's Facebook doing? Because Zuckerberg told us last Thursday night, didn't he?
Big announcement, right?
we all sat there, again, they do it in our evening time, which isn't great. If you work in the world of social media, you can't switch off. But he made his big announcement last week about rebranding the company, which technically the apps are all staying the same name. So Facebook is still Facebook, Instagram is still Instagram. It's the big corporate company, the holding name is now Meta. And he is all about the metaverse, which I did have to look it up because he's been talking about this.
What is the metaverse?
I knew you were going to ask me. So I did check because he's been talking about this for a while. But so actually, when he announced the name, it probably wasn't that big a surprise that Meta was the name. He's calling it the digital future, his new version of the internet, combining the physical and digital worlds, which for me is about his Oculus product, which is changing name. It's the augmented reality, virtual reality, artificial intelligence. So I guess, he cracked social media. He's connected the world. He's done it for many years now. I think he's just trying to take it up a whole nother level and bring the rest of us with it. So he's answered that big question about what's happening next year and his direction and where he's going.
Are there any Facebook updates that have happened this year that you want to sort of particularly pull out?
Yeah, I was looking at what the key themes really, because I think that's probably the easiest way to look at these updates is that, there's really small things that happen, new stickers, new tweaks, new targeting, there's lots of little small things all the time. that you need to be aware of, but you also don't lose sleep over these small things, I would say as well. But if I was to kind of give it some overarching themes of what's happening in the social media world, I think the biggest one this year, 2021, which hasn't it been the fastest year, but yet also the slowest year as well, is audio. And I think when we went into lockdown in January, we saw this real rise of Clubhouse as the app, the audio only app. It was on Apple first. It was a real FOMO situation because you had to have an invite to get to it. It was only on Apple, but it has now rolled out to Android, and it is still going. But this is audio only, and I think it really picked up on the growing trend of podcasts as a content trend over the last 12, 18 months as well. But as happens in the world of social media, a new app comes along, people get on this trend. I think they liked audio because you didn't have to be on screen, which we've all been doing for so long. And the other platforms have taken this on board. So Facebook have audio rooms now, which you can tell when they've finished their testing and they're rolling out, because then they make it easier to find on their navigation, which they've done in the last few weeks. And Twitter has really embraced this as well with Spaces. I've not really used this functionality too much. I listened a lot into Clubhouse at the beginning and to see what was going on. It was all the early adopters. I think it's one to watch. I think it's a little bit like we were talking before we started, I must do more video, I must do audio, I must do this. And I think in the world of social media, we feel those pressures sometimes, but actually I'm probably, even though I, one step forward and one step grounded where I am, I'm always watching what other people are doing and then trying to work out if it's right for me, rather than going, oh, there's something new and shiny. I have to do it, but I don't really know what I should be doing with it.
Well, I pretty much left Clubhouse alone because, I'm not an Apple user, can't stand it. And B, I just felt that there were more people like me on it than my target customer. So I was just like, why would I spend time in a place? I mean, I love talking to people who will do what I do, which is the number one reason why you're here. But there needs to be a purpose to your social media, right? So for me it was just, well, I can't get on it because I don't use Apple, and everyone that seems to be on it right now seems to be a marketer. So as much as I like talking to them, it's not going to help me find customers. So so I kind of steered away from it. I can see that some people have joined us. Yay! If you're watching, do comment, tell us where you're watching from, and if you've got any questions for Luan about updates on social media, what the updates are, do let us know by posting in the comments, and I'll ask Luan a question. So Facebook audio, LinkedIn, I think, has had quite a resurgence in the last year. And I know it's your favourite platform. So what's new on LinkedIn?
We shouldn't pick favourites, but yes, it is. It's where I spend more of my time. I guess it's because of the kind of clients I work with have traditionally been more B2B anyway. So that is the platform where I find them. It's probably the one that I've used longer than any other as well, from a business point of view. Of course, Facebook and Instagram are business point of view, but LinkedIn tend to make their changes in batches. You kind of don't hear anything for a long time, and then all of a sudden there is lots of new features. There's been a few small tweaks to profile setup in terms that you can now do a video cover. You can do a video of your profile photo, which again probably picks up on that trend of video content, getting to know people when we haven't been able to meet face to face. I also think there's some elements of accessibility in that as well, of making sure everyone can engage with social media. LinkedIn, via Microsoft, their parent company, I think in the last week or so, their quarterly updates have said engagement is greater than ever, but it always does seem to be in their quarterly updates for every platform, always improvements. What's been happening in the world over the last 18 months has obviously been a big change in jobs as well, from, people losing jobs, going on furlough, redundancies at the beginning of COVID, to now we're in this great resignation where people have kind of reset, reviewed, looking at their future, what they want, whether they want to work from home, work in an office. And there now are more jobs available, I believe, than candidates as well. And even though LinkedIn is about far more than jobs, there is a lot of functionality on the platform for that. The other area, or two areas actually to focus on, is pages. I'm not a big fan, you do need a page no matter what size your business, even if you're a business of one like we are, make sure you've set up a LinkedIn page and filled in the details. There is more features available for that now. My rationale for LinkedIn pages is I think it's great as a content hub, but actually you get engagement and you talk to people and you do business with people as individuals. So it's still all about your profile, really. Mm-hmm. But if you have a bigger team and you need to use it as a hub and coordinate with your colleagues, then to have more features there is good. The biggest one, I guess, small businesses, freelancers, wherever we sit on that, there is new tools rolling out in the last week for advertising your services on LinkedIn. So the kind of, I'm hiring, people hire me, these are my services, a freelancer network as well. So that whole open to work and opportunities is what's happening on that platform.
Yeah, I was really surprised the other week. I got a request through from somebody for email marketing service. I thought, what's this?
What did I do?
Gosh. So so I already have it. It's amazing. And I think, particularly it's useful. And I know I need to spend more time on LinkedIn. I find it quite. I don't know. I just find it. I think I need to get my timeline. I keep cleaning it up to see the things that I want to be able to see. I really used to spend a lot of time on LinkedIn probably about 2 years ago when there was more professional content on it. And because it's where I went to learn, as opposed to socialize. But it's kind of merging now, isn't it? It's all like the personal is coming into the professional.
That's a whole nother lunchtime session.
Yeah, I know.
Getting that balance. But you're right. Two things there is absolute. Those 3 dots on social media to just unfollow people and hide things. It's a bit like skipping through the ads, isn't it? On the TV. We're used to doing that now. We have to keep our feeds clean and focused. What you were talking about earlier about there's got to be a purpose to this, and this isn't about just filling ourselves up with noise. We have to be laser focused. I think
let's talk about the thing that they tried but didn't work, LinkedIn stories. I noticed on my app yesterday actually that I've still got the option to do stories, which is weird because I thought they went away at the end of September.
Yeah, they did. Maybe you just haven't updated the app and
maybe
it's still there.
Yeah,
that's another example of the kind of the trends and the coming and going. My personal opinion on this is that actually I think LinkedIn stories would have done better if we weren't locked down, if we were still going out, if we were going out to events, like we've been to events together, we've met at events together. I would have used my mobile more. I pretty much desktop majority of the time because I'm at my desk. If we were going out to events, doing face-to-face, doing talks, we would have got our phones out and we would have done LinkedIn stories. We'd probably have done a chat with each other after a session on a LinkedIn story as well. I personally think because you had to pick up your phone to do it and we're not out doing that, for me, that's probably why I didn't really use the functionality.
Interesting.
So that's kind of my take on why it may not. Maybe it's just the wrong time, and it goes back to maybe that's why audio came along at the right time because we'd had enough of being on screen, and therefore we didn't want to get dressed and so much and be visible. But we still wanted to listen to other people when we hadn't got the office environment around us. So I'm sure that's not the biggest reason that it didn't work out, but I do think for me and how I might have used it, that's quite a big reason. It's just I wasn't at reasons, I didn't have that purpose for going. Here's the function I need to be using right now.
Yeah. Cool. Well, you mentioned audio on Twitter. It's called Spaces. So what else is new with Twitter?
With Twitter, Twitter again, they don't do anything for a long time, and then they've made a lot of changes this year. Some really positive steps. They've made some acquisitions. I think the route Twitter is going down is further into the monetization route. And again, we could have a whole nother session on this because a lot of that is around tipping people if they've given good advice. monetizing super follows. You could pay to have a different level of following, but also newsletters. They purchased Review. You can now do newsletters. You can get people to sign up to your newsletter via your Twitter account. Just that content and that monetization is an area that I'm not sure how you feel about that, of a kind of a Twitter newsletter versus an email newsletter.
I mean, I think like all that. I mean, there was a rumor, I think beginning of this year, that Facebook was doing newsletters.
Yeah,
and I just think, it comes down to putting all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
So I'm quite pragmatic about that, because I just think that, the minute, I mean, we know a month ago, the whole Facebook family went down.
Yeah.
How are you going to communicate? You're not going to be able to do your newsletters if it's all coming out of Facebook. So I'm all for, using tools that, that make the best use of your time. But putting everything in one place, I think, is a big no-no, because if it breaks, everything breaks.
Yeah.
So, have things that talk to each other. So whilst I use an email marketing tool, it talks to other things, and I collect data from other places. And of course, I put my sign-up links on my socials. But I wouldn't put everything in one place. Is my thing. I'd be too scared that if it went down, I wouldn't be able to do anything. Wouldn't be able to talk to my audience. So it doesn't really worry me.
Yeah, I'm with you on the data side of it, and also the kind of, I use an email system, and we've talked about that as well. I'm not going to switch from actually what works for me already to something. It's almost it's a big move, isn't it? I think maybe it widens the options if you're starting off, or if you had a specific purpose for a newsletter that's done through that way. But we'll see. But I think this whole monetization area, but also the fact that not just Twitter, but the other platforms as well, is that they're using the language creators a lot more as well, and talking about tools for creators and monetization for creators. And it's all about them trying to incentivize people to basically create great content, because that's why people will keep going back to the platforms. But it feels like they've almost professionalized and raised the bar by giving, their best users or their best content creators actually some recognition, which I think is a good thing.
It's a good thing. And I think that will encourage better content. I think, if people are incentivized to produce good content because they're going to get paid for it, then they will spend time doing that. Because there is a lot of dross out there.
There is, and it's all about
it's a lot of content frogs to get to the prince of content. I think it's a good thing. I just genuinely think that the social media platforms introduce all these new things to be able to keep you in that one place, and you have to question yourself as to whether it's best for your business to be in only that one place, or whether you should spread your efforts. And you as a marketer will understand the pun of this show, the marketing mix, because you should use a mix of activities to market your business. You shouldn't rely on one thing.
You've just got to be really focused. If you're procrastinating and you want to procrastinate, it's a great place to go in a whirlwind. And it's also, the fact that we talk, I do, part of what I do in my working week, because I enjoy it, it's how my head works, is, I do read all the updates, but I share all the updates as well, is that, you don't have to keep up with the updates every day, and it's really difficult to do that. It's why I do a roundup and put them in a single source, quick link. But it's a challenge to do that. And I know that many, not everyone has to do that. As long as you've got some people doing it and your go-to resources for it, I have my go-to resources for it. Don't sweat it so much. Don't go, I need to keep up on top of everything. I need to follow all of this day in, day out, because you will just waste hours of your life. I think what is important is having your plan, having your purpose, knowing your audience, what you're selling and everything else, and then just knowing your go-to resources when you need it. So, we'll read the news and check that we're on track, but really it's all too shiny, too focused, can take hours away from what you're doing, and particularly as small business owners, that we're doing 101 things all the time. You cannot spend hours on this stuff, so please don't, because neither of us could promise you an ROI.
No.
Which, and this is our world. This is what, you're not spending as much time in social media now as you have done in the past, but genuinely you cannot spend all your time on these platforms. You've got to focus. It is only one part of what you need to be doing.
Absolutely. I've just put in the comments a link to Luan's website, and on there is the sign up for her weekly update, which I get, and I haven't had a chance to read in a couple of weeks, but there is a lot. I mean, she puts in there all the updates that she finds for the major social networks. So it's definitely worth signing up for that.
Yeah.
So we're running out of time. I knew
already. Yes.
What's new with Pinterest? Is there anything that we should know about?
I think
I'm going to leave Instagram for last.
Okay. I'm not a big Pinterest user, but I know about it. And actually, this is a whole other area, and I'll just mention TikTok as well, because Pinterest and TikTok for me are platforms that I'm not using on a day-to-day basis. I'm not networking on there. I'm not building an audience. But if I want to know what's going on, I want to know what the trends are. They're the places that I would go to. And Pinterest, I think don't quote me on it exactly, but they've just launched a shopping channel.
They have. I just saw that today.
Yeah, good. So they are gearing up for Christmas. One of the other big trends is all the e-commerce features that the platforms are doing. Pinterest is brilliant for that, seeing what the trends are. My best case study, I'm going to start talking quickly because I'm conscious of time, is, for example, a few years ago, Tiffany's decided what ring they were going to feature in their engagement ads, Valentine's Day ads, what engagement rings they were going to feature in their Valentine's Day ads based on the trends behind Pinterest and what rings people were pinning to their marriage mood boards. So behind the scenes and trends is you can use some social media platforms like Pinterest and TikTok to understand what's going on with Gen Z, what's going on with home and garden, retail, food, drink trends, and then pull that into your rest of your marketing or other social media content.
Amazing. And I know the people who are watching will want to know about Instagram, because Instagram seems to be the thing, the network that everyone wants to know about. So I know there's been one big new update, which I'm really happy about, but you tell us that.
And it is the platform that people like, and it's strange because people do all have their own preferences, don't they? Some people I meet love Twitter, some people don't understand it, some people love LinkedIn. I actually find Instagram quite hard, maybe because I'm more of a words person than visual, and because I like everything to be lined up, so I get a bit OCD about Instagram. Big changes. Adam Mosseri, the lead of Instagram, he announced quite strangely that Instagram is no longer a photo sharing app. It's about video, and we've seen that with the launch of Reels, which is their TikTok version. Reels that are now coming onto Facebook as well, because they are so closely linked. Last couple of weeks, they've announced in terms of video that they're ditching Instagram TV as a separate part of the app, and your longer form videos can go straight into the feed. So Instagram, big focus on video. But I know the amend that you're excited about, as everyone else, that there's no longer a magic 10,000 number for a swipe up and a link in stories. Everyone now has the opportunity to link in their stories, which
that's such a huge deal for small businesses, right?
To get traffic to your website. For me, that's always been the downside of Instagram, is that you have one link in the bio. You have to put link in bio. Yes, you can do clever things like Linktree and multiple links, but yes, I want to see traffic coming to websites, because websites is where people will convert. They'll sign up for emails and everything else. So
that's a big incentive for me to use stories more, because it was just so easy for me to schedule a post to go on my grid. And of course you can schedule stories through Facebook Business Suite and I guess other platforms, but now that's a big incentive for me to actually use stories more, because I do actually get more traction every time I post a story. I do actually get more traction, but then I'm thinking, well, what is that actually getting me? When I look at the stats, I look at who's gone to my profile from that story, and there's never enough people for me to want to do more stories. But if I can send them to a place straight off a link on that story, that's just a huge improvement already.
I think it's great for small business owners, particularly because you can do the behind the scenes, the get to know you stuff, which is again, that whole other session, it's a challenge for people to do that, to do the, what am I doing? What have I been doing at the weekend? But actually I've been, as going out more and doing more stuff, using the stories to say, this is where I am at the weekend. I'm here. This is what I'm doing. And it sparks conversations. I've had emails on a Monday morning going, looks like you had great fun at the weekend. Where did you go? Or something like that. So humanizing yourself is what a small business owner needs to do.
Yeah.
And which is a real contrast to that LinkedIn stories didn't really work. But on Instagram, it does work. That's where people are. They feel comfortable doing it. And let's get some website traffic from it while we're at it.
Cool. Okay. I'm going to ask you what your big predictions are for 2022.
This is a really hard one because we couldn't predict the last 2 years. And, I'm going to say that I think Zuckerberg has done it for us. I don't know exactly what it means, but it's whatever he's up to with metaverse. That is going to roll out quickly. He's very active. He's posting things every day. Follow him if you really want to know straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. I think that's going to roll out quite quickly. And probably after the Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Christmas season, we will see more stuff coming out there. I know it's not one of the big five, but we can't dismiss that TikTok has been the biggest, fastest growing platform of this year, fastest download. Views of TikToks has overtaken YouTube as well.
Wow.
So that is the trend. And I know, from the work that I do and others have been doing that, brands are now starting to ask how they get involved in this platform. So I'm not saying you will need to rush out and do it, but it's certainly got to be something that's a part of your consideration set, particularly if you have younger people that research your products and services. You need to attract Gen Z as an influencer. I'm afraid to say we can't dismiss it much longer.
It's not just the app where people go to dance.
No, it's not. It's not. But it's a very different sphere all by itself. But I think it's something that we've got to, like I said about Pinterest and Pinterest as well. You don't necessarily have to be doing TikToks, but at least start learning about it, because I think it's one that is actually here to stay.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I mean, there's a lot, isn't there? And I mean, I say this to my clients when they say, "Oh, should I be on this? Should I be on that?" And I just say, "Well, you need to be in the place where your target audience is." So, and
I will tell clients to stop using platforms as well. I've rationalized one client down from 800 Twitter accounts to handful of very large, from 20, 30 Twitter accounts down to one, to even let's just do a pinned post. No one plays with us on Twitter anymore. Tell them to go and find us on Instagram. So yes, TikTok probably feels like another thing, but actually review where your audience are and where you're getting the conversations and the website traffic and the leads from. And it is okay to stop doing things as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I mainly came off Twitter in December last year just because it was just, it just wasn't good for my mind. And I go on every week to do a Twitter chat. And if I get tagged in posts, I'll reply to them and retweet them and whatnot. But this sort of a couple of months ago, I went in and cleaned up my followers. So I got rid of everyone that would tend to post content that brought me down. So I've got a much cleaner timeline. So I do spend a bit more time on it, but I don't really enjoy it that as much as I used to a few years ago. I used to love Twitter a few years ago. So I like looking at pretty pictures, and I like scrolling through. I like scrolling through Pinterest. It's where I go to when I want to search for recipes and stuff. You've got to go to the platforms that are right for you. And absolutely. My use of Twitter is I've got a very specific need. Right now I want to know what's going on at COP26 with the climate change conversations. I go to Twitter and I put in the hashtag and I look at what I need to look at. For me, it's a good real-time news source. But you're right, you've got to filter out stuff that isn't good for you. Yeah, it's true. And I think the more time you spend on social media, that it's just such a big time suck. They don't want you to leave their platforms. They want you to stay there and do as much as you can. because obviously the ads is what brings them in their money. So so that's what they tend to do. Well, we are out of time, people. We could have talked forever. I'm going to have you back on again, I think.
Sure.
I've actually got a little survey out at the minute about what you want to hear about in future marketing mixes. It's anonymous. There's only one question. There's a box for you to put in topics. So if you're on my list, you will have had that this morning. I'm going to share it over social media. So the more you tell me about what you want to hear about, the more I can get the right people on. So look out for that survey. In 2 weeks' time, I'm going to have 3 of my fellow Small Biz 100s talking about Small Business Saturday and why you should get involved, what you could be doing. So watch out for that. I think that's going to be quite quick. I've only ever had one guest normally, So I'm going to be managing 3 guests in half an hour, which is going to be quite a feat. So it might go on a bit. So do join us for that. I will just put in the comments the link to my ebook, which is how to create an irresistible. I can't spell irresistible. I hope that's right. I can't see either. Small Business Saturday offer. That's out now. But so if you want that, click on that link. But 2 weeks' time, we'll talk a little bit more about Small Business Saturday. But I just want to say thank you to Luan. That was a lot to squeeze into half an hour. And we will maybe we'll circle back again once maybe March time next year, just to see how things have settled, especially with Facebook. But if you have any questions for Luan, post them in the comment. I'm sure she'll come back and answer them later. And you can watch this back. So if you're watching live, thank you for joining us. If you're watching on catch up, thank you for catching up. I will see you in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.
Bye.